Welcome to Healthy Births, Happy Babies, where we share tips, tools, and stories grounded in natural childbirth and parenting principles, so that instead of feeling overwhelmed and confused during this exciting time in your life, you feel safe, supported, and empowered in your childbirth and parenting journey. And now, here's your host, Dr. Jay Warren.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Healthy Births, Happy Babies. I'm Dr. Jay Warren. I'm the Family Wellness Chiropractor and the Wellness Care Coordinator here at the Cappa Wellness Center. And today we have our very own Care Messer back with us. She's going to be sharing her wealth of knowledge on a subject that she is an absolute expert in, and that is hypnobirthing. It's an amazing tool that can be used during pregnancy and specifically during labor and delivery to just help it be just an absolutely powerful and beautiful experience for you. But before we do that, let me pause for this quick message, and we'll be right back. Hi, it's Dr. J, and I am so excited to announce to you that my new online program is now available. It's called Connecting with Baby During Pregnancy, and what it's going to do is going to teach you methods proven by the latest research in pre- and perinatal psychology and epigenetics that are going to allow you to have not only a calmer and more relaxed pregnancy and to have a gentler, more natural birth, but on the other side of things, you're going to feel more confident as a mom, and you're going to be able to soothe your baby that much easier, because when you're able to bond with baby and connect right now during your pregnancy, it's only going to translate on the other side to just being that much more connected and be able to help them calm and soothe. It's a really important thing. So head on over to drj.warren.com/CWB, that's Connecting with Baby, and you can learn all about it. And now I would like to introduce to you Care Messer. If you haven't heard her on our previous episodes, please do so. Please listen to those. But then I'll just go through her bio and bring her right on. Care is the founder of the Cappa Wellness Center, as well as the owner-founder of the Birth Education Center and San Diego Hypnobirthing. She became a doula under the instruction of Gerri Ryan through DONA, went on to become a certified hypnobirthing instructor, and has taught hypnobirthing since 2009. She is a certified hypnotherapist through NATH, and she's also certified in placenta encapsulation. She trained with the ICEA to become certified as the international educator, and she trained with Cappa to be a postpartum doula. Care has taught natural birth training to student nurses at SDSU and holds a board position with the Nizhoni Institute of Midwifery. And until recently, she served as the vice president of the San Diego Birth Network. Care is the mother of 2 girls and also 2 little Pomeranians. So let me switch over to my conversation with Care about hypnobirthing. She is going to be sharing so much information with you and hopefully get you really excited to use it as a tool in your pregnancy and your labor and delivery. Hi, Care. Welcome back to the podcast.
Hi, Jay.
Hi. Well, it's been a couple of months since we've had you on the podcast. It was originally, you did a bunch of episodes with Dr. Cap, and then you also did one on the birth education program that we have here. And today we're going to be talking about hypnobirthing, right?
Hypnobirthing. So fun.
So Care Messer really is kind of the expert in San Diego on hypnobirthing. And, you know, as a personal story, the whole reason why I'm involved in the Cappa Wellness Center is because I was in your hypnobirthing class years ago. Effie and I took it on recommendations from everyone in our world. And then fast forward to today, we're together working together. So I'm grateful for hypnobirthing for the birth of my child, but then also being involved here. So today, what I'd love for you to share with our listeners is, one, just what hypnobirthing is and how it would be able to help with the births, but then also your story and how you got involved with it. So if we could, let's just start and get our listeners up to speed on just what hypnobirthing is if they've had no familiarity with it at all.
Well, I think the first question we get with hypnobirthing is, am I going to be in hypnosis? Like, who's going to put me under? Am I going to cluck like a chicken? The name's a little misleading that way, but it shouldn't turn people off because it's really just a deep relaxation. And releasing a lot of the fears that we have surrounding birth. So as mammals, we can birth as mammals do. It's the old philosophy as birth is normal and natural. It's not a medical event. And hypnobirthing is based on the works of Dr. Grantley Dick Reed. He was an English OB, and he kind of was the first one to come out with, when you release the fear, there's no tension, and then there's possibly no pain. And his book, Childbirth Without Fear, is kind of the basis of what hypnobirthing is set up on, that Marie Mongan lived her own life and her own births, and then knew there was a better way than what we were creating in our medical establishment in America. Now we're in 45 different countries teaching hypnobirthing, and it's a fabulous way to give birth.
Well, I can attest to that. It definitely helped both Effie and myself during the birth. And most of the moms that we're taking care of here in the Cappa Center are involved in hypnobirthing. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got involved personally with hypnobirthing, and then how you came to, really dive in and become a teacher?
First of all, I'm a very big fan of drugs and morphine. And my views on birth were, I'm terrified and my vagina is the size of a dime and there's no way a baby the size of a football is going to come out of it. So after we had had 6 miscarriages, I obviously was very full of fear from loss, pain, everything that had to do with childbirth. And I played right into what America teaches, is that just show up at the hospital and we'll take care of you. And I was perfectly comfortable with that. Show up, drug me head to toe, as long as I don't feel anything, let's have a baby. And doing that, I was washing away all of my power, my information, and just hiding underneath a rug, basically, which I wouldn't do in any other aspect of my life except for birth, because I was terrified of it. When I was in one of my appointments with my obstetrician, who was a high-risk OB because of my miscarriages, she looked at my drug history and told me that I wasn't going to be able to have any drugs during labor because I was allergic to all the, probably 3 or 4 things that were in the cocktail in the epidural. And I started to cry at that moment and cried for 2 weeks. I was paranoid, paralyzed, and terrified because she told me I'd have to do something natural, and there was no other way that I could give birth. So now I thank God that I was allergic to everything because I found hypnobirthing. My niece had done hypnobirthing, and when she sent me the book, I thought it was for yogis, it was for vegans, people that were green, whatever. It just wasn't for me. I was very high chaotic stress, type A kind of a person, and that just seemed way out of my league. She just convinced me to read the book. And within 100 pages, kind of a light went off. And I was like, oh my gosh, people have been doing this for 1,000,000 years. My ancestors have done this. Genetically, I wouldn't be here if my great-great-grandmothers hadn't birthed. Like, I can do this. My husband was a big skeptic and thought I couldn't do it. My mom actually told me that I'd be a statistic and die in childbirth because of my lack of pain tolerance.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was pretty scary. And I really felt alone. But there was something inside me that said, you have to do this, so you better just do it. And the hypnobirthing book became my Bible. I listened to the rainbow relaxation every night with my affirmations, and I started to see a turn in the way I perceived birth, the way I perceived my body, the connection that I actually had to this baby, because up until that time, I had no connection. I was feeding her with, I hope you live through the day, because I was so afraid of loss, which is not a good thing to feed your baby. And my whole mindset started to change, and I became a different person. And my labor was simple, uneventful. It was 5 hours and 58 minutes, start to finish. I had pictured 6 hours, so coming in 2 minutes underneath that, I thought was rock star. I had a doula, which was key. I kept it intimate and quiet. I moved from the hospital to a birth center, which I never had ever pictured myself doing because I'm perfectly comfortable with hospitals. But on my birth plan, which was pretty simple, they had told me I couldn't do anything on it. And to me, that was a big red flag, especially when the charge nurse had also left the hospital with her daughter and had a birth at the birth center that I went to. And I thought, if a charge nurse is telling me to get out, I need to get out. And It was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And within, 8 months, I started looking into the practitioner training. And then at a year mark, when Finney was almost a year, I took the training to become a practitioner, and also took the doula training to be a doula. And that was 7 years ago.
So you, in your pregnancy, you never took a class in hypnobirthing. You just taught it to yourself.
No, I actually did take a class.
Oh.
My husband wasn't comfortable doing group classes, so we did a private class. And I wish we had done the group classes, because he needed the camaraderie with the other partners. But at the time, I would take whatever. So if that's the only way I could get him involved, I was going to do it. We also had our 11-year-old daughter that was adopted when she was 5, sitting in the classes, and I probably traumatized her from showing her vagina videos. But it was very healthy for her. And she also was at the birth. She was in a different room because she didn't want to see any vagina. But it was very good for her to see what a woman can do. And she knows that she can do it whenever she decides to do it. She's 19. Let's hope that waits for a couple of years. But no, the classes were key. There are people that can do it with just reading the book and listening to the rainbow and affirmations, but the class is key to ask questions of the practitioner and get more information from other parents. And it opens up new questions that you wouldn't think to answer. And once you get your fears resolved, you really can just let your body go and give birth, because your body's going to expel that baby anyway. But it goes so much smoother when your fears aren't holding that up.
Right. And so, and when you say the hypnobirthing class, like the classes that Effie and I took, it was a series of classes. It's not just a one-time workshop. Can you lead us through like what those classes look like, and what maybe class by class, but just what the process is of learning the hypnobirthing and the experience that couples would have?
Yeah, so it's a 5-week series, 2.5 hours per class. Mine tend to be a little longer because I don't shut up and I have a million stories and add a few doula techniques here and there. But the 5-week series is essential, and taking a whole series so that you don't miss a class, essential. I want parents to get the full experience of it. You'll learn how self-hypnosis works. It's very simple, and it's basically a mind distraction. We're in hypnosis all the time. For instance, we're driving and we get to our destination and we don't realize how we got there because our other part of our mind was distracted and thinking about work. We're reading a book and all of a sudden the dog died, and we're like, when did the dog come in here? Because we were just thumbing through pages, but our mind was someplace else. That's kind of the relaxation techniques that you're going to hone in on. You will be awake. And once parents learn they're not going to cluck like a chicken, and somebody is going to have a medallion in front of them, it kind of turns to, it's pretty simple, because it is simple. Our bodies were designed to be sufficiently relaxed and trust to give birth. And once we relearn the trust that we've lost in our earthly process of living in this day and time, we birth pretty simply. So we learn about baby bonding and connection. Because once you switch from this is my birth plan, this is how I want it, kind of like you're designing a nursery, you design your birth, we switch it back to it's not your birth, it's your baby's birth. What does your baby want? More importantly, when that baby comes up and lands on your chest, I call it your landing pad. What are the feelings that should be surrounding your baby? This is their first taste of life with you. Shouldn't your chest be full of love, peace, calm, trust, and wanting and welcoming, rather than fear, mistrust, scary, over chaotic, like births tend to be? And do you want them to come into the world less drugs and less, I don't even know the words for it. Medical interventions sometimes sway and feed right into our fears. Sometimes they're necessary, and what you'll learn in hypnobirthing is that when they're necessary, you welcome them in and go with the flow of your birth, so that it goes much smoother when you have to have an intervention. Because I don't look at interventions like an epidural as the death of a birth, because sometimes it's medically necessary for an epidural. And when you get an epidural out of medical necessity or a therapeutic epidural, instead of I'm doing it out of fear, I can't do this, blah, 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 you don't regret those birth decisions. And you bring your baby in peacefully because you stay centered and focused on the breathing and the journey that your baby is making out of your body and onto your chest.
And I think that reframing of the birth being really your baby's birth as well, if not instead of being you, the mom's birth, is so important. I've seen transformations in the patients that I've worked with throughout their pregnancy before and after the hypnobirthing class, in that there was a lot of pressure the moms were feeling at the beginning of it, like, how am I going to do this? I need to decide, what if I can't? And it's very, there's a lot of pressure they're feeling. And then throughout the hypnobirthing process, it really becomes this kind of collective of, what am I doing with my baby? And there's a pressure that comes off. Not that they just, don't have their intentions for how the birth wants to go, but there's a lot more peace that I see in the women's faces and just feel in their nervous systems as they're just more relaxed and at peace there. And I think the key is reframing it into, like, well, what birth does your baby want? And being able to create the connections for moms to listen to that. And that's a key part of hypnobirthing, isn't it?
It totally is. In our classes, we try and foster the 5 elements of birth in a roundabout way. Michelle O'Daunt coined those as safety, silence, and that can be your music or your affirmations. Privacy is key because mammals need privacy to birth well. Darkness, to keep her safe, and then warmth. The warmth not only works in and out with hormones, but it helps her feel secure. And the thing I think that is the most beautiful thing about hypnobirthing is when the partners come in that first week, a lot of them are skeptical. And they're kind of like, hypnobirthing, ugh, what is this, 5 weeks? They want to shoot themselves. And by the end of the first class, they're like, wow, this is different. Your mind's pretty powerful. I think we might have a shot at this. And then class 2, they start to bond with their woman and their baby. And then by class 3, they're learning even more techniques of how to keep everything centered and calm. And they start to become that way themselves. And I'm finding by class 5, they're like, I could totally catch this baby in the car. It's not that big of a deal. And that transformation, whether they be same body couples or male-female, typical traditional couples, they know how to support that woman that is giving birth to their baby. They know how to get her pregnant, whether it be through artificial means or not, and they know how to keep her safe, warm, comfortable, and keep it in a private setting, and that's the best way to give birth. Your baby and your body know what to do already. Birth works on a sphincter system, and it basically works like you're pooping a baby out of the front. And if you let that go, Marie Mongan just released the new hypnobirthing book. We're celebrating our 25th year with hypnobirthing. And one of the most beautiful chapters, which I've heard her give a talk on this before, is called The Power of Doing Nothing. And it really works with birth. And when you read that chapter, certain things are going to click because birth is just a natural and normal function of our bodies, just like menstruation. And doing less sometimes is doing exactly what you need to do. Nothing, because your body knows how to do this.
Right. And I think that probably is something that clicks in women's mind, to have them relax and know they don't have to do as much as they originally thought. Because their body just innately knows to do it. It's designed to do that.
Exactly. And when I have some second-time parents come in that have taken other methods, or they took no classes the first time and know they need some different skills this time, they start to go through their last birth and they go, oh my gosh, I thought I needed to walk. I thought I needed to do this position. I thought I needed to do stairs. I had to do this. I had to eat this way. They had so many things on their agenda they had to check off in order to labor. And their labors were ridiculously long. And I'm like, the average labor in the world is 8 to 12 hours. It's pretty efficient. Your body knows what to do. And a lot of times it's less than that because your mind's out of the way. And probably my biggest thing that I can't stand in the birth world is they talk about birth being a marathon. It's a marathon. You have to prep for it. And I want to switch that back to your labor is a fraction of a day. Once labor starts, that's your finish line. The marathon is conception through that first 9-10 months of building that baby. There's highs, there's lows, there's ups and downs, there's training, there's research, there's all that stuff. That's the marathon. Once labor begins, fraction of a day. we're done. All of the stuff that you've done in the first 9 months preps you for that bit of time to release your baby.
That's beautiful. I love that that labor's the finish line.
It's the done part. Once that train starts, get on and let it go. You're done.
Right. That's beautiful. I love that. And I also wanted to kind of backpedal just a second to what you talked about, the partners being in the class, because this is really a partners-oriented experience. It's not just for the moms. And I can speak from personal experience, like the value I got out of it as the dad-to-be really was, the class was set up to really kind of go over a lot of things that were going to come up in the birth, and us as a couple to kind of talk about it and see how we felt about it and compare notes and really dialogue, so that, as, the dad to be and the partner in the birth, that we have a lot of, concerns and fears of doing the right thing and what should we do and not do. And, we don't want to be yelled at, and we want to do the right thing and protect our mamas. But the class allowed us, and, for Effie to say like, oh, definitely do this, I like that, or do not ever say that, or do not touch me in that way, so that we could get that out of the way before labor happens and it doesn't get in the way of anything. And that was extremely valuable for me as a partner going in. So, what you had said too is a lot of guys going into it, or the partners are just, not totally on board. I was totally on board starting the class. I loved it. I was really excited about it. But seeing the other transformation of the other guys, they were asking more questions towards the end of the course than the moms were. And it just gets them on board, which is only going to allow moms to feel more supported and allow that birth to be even more powerful.
Of course. And I get a lot of comments about dads and partners when they're going home after a birth class. They're like, we talked about this and this and this. This would have never come up in our regular life. Another comment I get a lot is, we're connecting like we haven't connected since we first got together. Yeah. And when I do relaxations, I do take them back to when the first touch came between the two of them, and when they felt those sexy, delicious feelings towards each other, because that's what ended up with this baby in most cases. And it kind of reawakens, oh yeah, why are we doing this? I get it. I think we lose touch with our partners sometimes when we get pregnant, because we're tired, we're throwing up possibly, we're thinking about work and how to solve this and what we're going to do after with this baby. And we kind of distance ourselves out of, self-preservation, but our partners are looking at our beautiful, voluptuous bodies that they can't touch anymore, and they're feeling even more disconnected, and sex pretty much keeps us in touch with them. So I encourage a lot of connection that way throughout the pregnancy, because they don't want to lose their woman, and feeling like they're going to have a new baby to take care of and provide for financially, etc. They don't want to lose their woman either. And that connection is so vitally important for a beautiful birth. I love the questions that the partners come up with, because they do spur conversation between the two of them, as well as in class. That's why the group classes are just key. They're key.
Right. Well, and so obviously, like here at the Cappa Wellness Center and the Birth Education Center in San Diego, we offer the Hypnobirthing sequence, and we'll put links on how to, if you're here in San Diego, how to get more information about that. But Kara, where we have a lot of listeners that are all over the country and frankly all over the world. Like, where can they find resources to get more information about, one, hypnobirthing, but two, how they might be able to find a class?
If you go to hypnobirthing.com. There's a section just for parents, and under that section you'll find It in Structure. And like I said, we're in 45 different countries. There are some teachers that if you are totally out of their area, they can even Skype classes to you, or make special trips at an additional cost, or vice versa. It is worth it to get a class. You can always get the book, you can always get the CD off the Hypnobirthing Institute website. But classes are key, and connecting with that practitioner who knows the care providers in your area, who can encourage you to get a doula and find the right doula for you in your area, will make a huge difference in how this birth goes.
Right. Well, I can attest. I mean, one, personally, the hypnobirthing class that Effie and I took was just amazing for Nicholas's birth, which we did at home, but also just seeing patients coming in, as I said earlier in our conversation, where had a lot of fears going into birth early on in the pregnancy, and then hypnobirthing and the course and the experience and the tools that they're given, as well as like the kind of mindset reframe around this birth being the most amazing thing, and your body's designed to do it, and you can really just rock this birth, is so key for these babies coming into the world that much safer and that much healthier, because they're not coming through fear and coming through stress. So I always highly recommend everyone that I'm taking care of to jump into hypnobirthing if they haven't already. Obviously, we have the expert here in San Diego for my patients to take it with you, Care. But I'm glad that there's resources around the world for those other women to bring their babies into the world that much better as well.
It's a beautiful process, and I wish we were taught more in our younger years in high schools and junior highs how powerful our bodies are as women and what they're actually capable of, and the beauty of birth, because we shape our baby's full experience on earth with how we bake them in our womb and how we birth them. And we're creating the patterns that they're going to carry throughout their lives. And I've learned a lot about that through my work with Anna Verwal, and her Womb to World TED Talk is a really good resource for starting to figure that out. Hypnobirthing kind of pieces those puzzle pieces to complete the experience for your baby with the basis of that training. It's a beautiful process. I feel very lucky and blessed to work with hypnobirthing.
Yeah. Well, and we're all lucky and blessed that we have you to be able to teach it to us and to hold the space for us. So, Care, thank you for your time today to share this information with our listeners. You're just such a beacon of inspiration and empowerment for everyone that's here. So I just really appreciate everything that you do for us here, Care.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today. For more information about this episode and other natural childbirth and parenting topics, please visit us at capwellnesscenter.com or message us on our Facebook page with any questions you might have. We here at the Cap Wellness Center look forward to helping you and your family be as happy and healthy as you can be.